Thank you, Prue, and thank you, Bob, and a big welcome to everybody. Really pleased to see everyone here today. As Bob said, we're a new management team. When I agreed to have this forum, that was my 7th week on the job. I didn't really think about it, but really happy to be here today and to try and explain to you why we should be working together in high-value nutrition. We have one slight change to the agenda. Our speaker this afternoon, Richard Jones from the Putama Trust, was unable to make it. So instead we have Kristen Koheri-Suta from the New Zealand Trade and Enterprise. She will be speaking to his presentation. We also run a number of advisory panels in high-value nutrition, and I have an apology from the chair of our industry advisory panel, who's Kevin Marshall, who unfortunately had a conflict and couldn't be here today either, but he wanted me to pass on his apologies. So I'm not going to talk to you about why you should be in the high-value nutrition market. I think coming from industry, everyone knows the potential that we need to be moving up the value chain in terms of our produce and exports. So what I'm going to talk to you about is really what is high-value nutrition. It does take a bit to understand what it is. As Bob said, it's not just a funding allocation mechanism, it's a way of growing the New Zealand food industry and our reputation. So our mission is to enable you to develop high-value foods with validated health benefits, and this will drive economic growth through our research excellence. So we are a virtual centre of excellence. High-value nutrition is a national collaboration that will drive this growth. Now, as we said, we have our KPI of $1 billion extra revenue from food and beverage exports by the year 2025, which is an ambitious target, to say the least, and I will explain to you a little bit more about how that works. But also, we have the role to enhance New Zealand's reputation as a producer of high-quality foods with the validated health benefits. New Zealand has a lot to offer, and I think we have the ability to work together to make sure New Zealand is seen as the global leader in developing high-value nutrition food products. So we've got a plan to make this happen. The way that it works is we've had an establishment phase. We are now in the first phase where we have $30 million mostly invested, but there's still a little bit to go. And that takes us through to January 2019. Prior to that, we will re-engage with MB and re-establish the second tranche of funding allocation, which is earmarked to be $53 million. We haven't committed yet how and where that money will be spent, so it's very important that we continue this dialogue between yourselves and us so that we make sure that that second tranche of investment gets allocated into the areas that are going to be of most benefit to businesses in New Zealand. So high-value nutrition is different. It's a different way to invest in science, and it complements current investments. You might be familiar, really science stretch is done through Health Research Council grants, and they're very science specific. You have industry-led programs such as the Primary Growth Partnerships, which is a co-funding model that is much more commercially driven with a specific economic impact. But high-value nutrition is a great combination of both of these. We have one mission. We're moderate to high-risk science. We have been given the mandate to, it's not business as usual. It's establishing new science. But it has to be balanced to an industry outcome. We need to invest to make sure that that science stretch is going to be relevant and useful for our businesses. So how do we invest? We have three main mechanisms. The first one is what we call our priority research projects, and these are pre-competitive research to build the science base and capabilities. So it's support for validation of our product health benefits. So we're establishing science stretch, new ways of measuring impact of foods on health so that you can come in and bring your products and use these methodologies. The second purpose is a contestable project. Now we have 3 funding rounds where we will put out requests for proposals, where you have a product that has some science or an idea behind it that just really requires that last hurdle to get to a health claim. Now we've already run one of these rounds and we have 7 projects underway with they're shorter term with a defined output, and Martin will talk to some of these. And then we have what we call our special projects, which is allocation of money of things that we need to do to keep the challenge moving, to get the work done. So we have an objective that we need to enhance New Zealand's reputation for high-value foods. How do you measure that? So we've got some work underway to actually establish a baseline of what is our current value of export products of high-value nutrition, and how do people view New Zealand as a producer of high-value nutrition foods. So we've got a session on that this afternoon, so that as we move through the next several years, we can actually measure the impact of what we're doing. So part of high-value nutrition is really supporting the path to market. So we work very closely with all our partners. We will establish market and consumer insights. So we'll talk this afternoon. We have a program underway to say that we will understand what are the health and wellness needs of our consumers, particularly in Asia. What drives them to purchase and continue to purchase a high-value nutrition food, and what are the surrounding factors that influence those choices. So we will be looking to see what is that landscape, but also obviously measuring the IP landscape, what's happening in terms of the patenting out there, that we will be able to provide that information to industries. We obviously have our nutritional biochemistry, so that is where our science investments are happening to develop new biomarkers, ways of measuring what's happening in the body in terms of these specific health areas. Then we will support with clinical application. We can obviously will have established these methodologies that we can work together to clinically validate your high-value nutrition foods. And food science and technology. It's great. We have a program underway as well, which you'll hear about, in terms of it's all very well knowing that there's something that in your product that might have a particular health impact, but you've got to protect it from all the way through the supply chain, through to digestion, to make sure that that activity is maintained right through, so that the health benefit is maintained. So we have a program underway in the science of foods and technology that will help establish models that we can have available to show that the products are still active through to digestion. So our target, $1 billion, is a big meaty target, and that is an extra $1 billion per year on top of what we exported in the calendar year of 2015. But $84 million of funding is not going to give us that. I think everyone here will know what level of investment is required to increase your revenue. What $84 million gives us is the cornerstone of a whole system of New Zealand capability that enables delivery of foods with validated health benefits. And it will support those limited specific business proposals through the contestable funding rounds. So we are going to need additional funding to meet the target, and I think it's important. This is why we keep talking together and we listen to make sure that we are investing our money in alignment with other investments throughout the country. It will require some industry co-funding, but also nationally aligned science investments. And so even within the Crown Research Institutes, there is a remit to allocate some of their funding to support the national science challenges. So what we call aligned research is also happening within a whole lot of research organisations that will all come together to ultimately support New Zealand as a high-value nutrition food producer. So the role of us is to be an investor, to make sure we invest that money wisely, a coordinator and facilitator throughout all the other investments happening in New Zealand to make sure that there's no duplication, but there is synergy in what is happening in this space to support this area. an influencer. So we need to try and help raise the profile of New Zealand's capabilities in this space. So we will be supporting our scientists to talk up high-value nutrition at international meetings, to really raise the profile of New Zealand as the place, not only to buy your foods from, but to come and invest and use our science capability. And obviously industry engagement, that's why we're here. So we need to be we're a national contact point for access to high-value nutrition capabilities, and Craig will talk about how to access all that information and our networks to support industry activity in this area. So as we've mentioned, we have our priority science programs in place. We have allocated the investment to gastrointestinal health, immune health, metabolic health. There is a money set aside to invest in weaning foods. It's in process. I'll talk about that a little bit towards the end of the day. And then we have the underpinning research of consumer science and the food science and technology, which will support all of these areas. And Martin will give you a little bit more detail about what these are looking like. So what are the benefits of you being here, of engaging with HVN? Well, each priority research area does have an industry reference group that has been established, and that group can influence the direction of our pre-competitive research and the types of products that can be tested while we're validating those biomarkers to get an early look at whether the products might have some activity. And an early view of science outputs. So it's important that we have people on board with the relevant scope of business to help influence our science direction. Investing in selective or aligned projects to accelerate the delivery or business opportunities. So while we have work underway validating the methods of proving these health benefits, if there's an opportunity to extend some of that work, to accelerate it, or get an early look at some activity of particular products, then we can talk. Any kind of co-investment, obviously the path to commercialisation needs to be clear, and there's our remit is supporting pre-competitive research, so in some ways that's a discussion around managing IP as well that has to be had. But by being here, you have access to a national high-value nutrition research capabilities. We are tracking what is going on in all of the research organisations across New Zealand, not just the work that we are funding, but all the other work that is happening, and we're capturing all of that aligned research, and so we'll know who is doing what and where is the best place to go if you need advice and support. And so really this is a national approach to collective learning to enhance our national capability in foods for health. Now, as has been mentioned, this challenge has been underway for a while. This was from our annual report, and it really shows that already we've allocated $11 million to those, actually that's now $14 million to the priority research areas. $7 million have gone to the 7 contestable projects that are business-led. We have, got 13 research organisations working on some of our projects, and if you count, we've got 99 individual researchers plus working in the high-value nutrition space. So we've already got industries on board developing products, co-funding activity, and working together. So this challenge is well underway, but it doesn't mean to say that there's no further opportunity to work with us. Actually, this is really just the beginning of getting industry on board. So our initial investment portfolio is in place, but there is still much to do. We've got 3 years left of this funding allocation. That the direction still needs to be confirmed of specific activities. Then we've got our second funding allocation in 2019, so we need to be clear on how and where we want to spend that money in our proposal to the Ministry, and we need to make sure that's of most relevance to New Zealand businesses. There will be 2 more contestable funding rounds where businesses can come in with proposals to receive support to do this final clinical trial validation of products. And so really what I'm saying here is a stronger engagement with New Zealand businesses will ensure that we hear from you how best we can use resources and our networks to drive the New Zealand capability and economic returns. So that is a very quick summary of high-value nutrition. It's a very complicated a virtual centre, but I think this really has great potential in terms of just nationally aligning. We're a small country, and by working together we can ensure that all the investments and capabilities get to establish our goals. So I would just like to introduce Martin Kussman now, who is our Chief Scientist, and I thought 7 weeks in I had a problem standing up here, but he's 2 weeks in on the job, so he is going to talk to you about what is our science investments so far.